I'm Russell Hill. I'm the host of WTF, and that is what the fixed ops to all of you out there. And I'm joined today by...
Hello, everyone. I'm Charity, your co-host here. And today we have Nolan Armpriester, the GM at Twin Pines Ford of Hamburg. Nolan, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be on the show.
Welcome to the show, Nolan.
Thank you so much.
Well, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Sure. My name is Nolan Armpriester. I'm general manager of Twin Pine Ford of Hamburg. I've been in the automotive industry my entire life. My father was a flat rate technician for 47 years. I was a single parent, so I grew up in the dealership world, and I made my way through fixed ops. Primarily, all of my experience is fixed ops. I went from service advisor to service manager, service director, fixed ops director, director of operations, and now general manager. So very experienced on the fixed ops side, and that's what I love to do.
You know, it's really amazing, Nolan, because we got so many questions here, but I have to make a comment on that because 80 to 85% of the general managers grew up on the durable side. And I was one of those as well. But I always made sure that I was surrounded by somebody like you in the fixed side. But what I have found was the ones that are in your position that are experienced on that side actually do a better job. That's just my experience. I mean, that's just what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I don't think you see as many general managers from fixed as you do variable for sure. But I think general managers that are from fixed typically are much more process oriented and structured.
Indeed.
So, yeah.
Makes
Indeed.
sense. Yeah. Well, you did build your career on the fixed ops side. What's one lesson that took you years to learn but changed the way that you lead people?
Having a process for every step of the day. You know, early on in my career, we had processes, but they were loose, right? And we tried to follow them the best we could. But what I realized, you know, maybe 5-6 years into it was that this is our livelihood. This is what we do to take care of our families, to take care of our lives. Why leave anything to chance, right? Why not have a written process for every step of the day, you know, for every single thing that we do? And I think when you have that and you can hold your team accountable to those processes, you see success follow that pretty quickly.
Yeah, good. I love that response. Really, is there anything like coincidence, chance, or luck anyway? It's numbers and processes, isn't it?
I would agree 100% with that. Yeah.
You've said that putting employees first leads to better customer experiences. What does that look like in practice?
Well, I think, you know, a lot of times employees are treated as a number, right? Or as a tool, but really they're family, right? So I think that we have to make the connections and the relationships with our employees and our guests. And I think you see everything build off of that, right? When you have loyalty from your employees, when you have buy-in to your processes, they're more likely to go above and beyond for you. And when you create those relationships with your customers, that's what creates retention. You know, we have to be cognizant that there's a lot of players in our space, aftermarket and everybody else, that want to take these customers from us and these employees from us, right? So if we don't do a good job at creating the relationships with our employees and our guests, I think that's where a lot of dealerships fall short. And I think that's one way you can really build a strong team, is just by focusing on the human aspect of it.
I love it. Do people, when people leave, do they really leave over money? Yes, sometimes that's the case, but I think that's a big misconception because I think it's really leadership. Do you agree?
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people leave because they haven't been taught to do the job properly. They don't understand what the expectations are. And to your point, that's a failure of management, you know, and there's nothing really else to that.
No doubt. Speed of the pack is set by the leader. And I could only imagine if I walked in, because I've myself been in the business a long time, but when I walk into a store, I can feel it. I know if they got strong leadership just because the vibe, and I get a vibe, and I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. But there's a vibe. You can sense, you can tell. And if the culture's like that, I bet the guests feel the same way. Do you agree?
100%. Yeah. And it just trickles down to the guest, right? You have happy employees, you have happy interactions with your guests. You have disgruntled employees, they're going to treat your guests that way. So, I mean, it's about taking care of your people first, taking care of your guests second. Everything else comes with that.
Yeah. What's the biggest misconception dealership leaders have, like yourself, about running a successful service department?
I think a lot of people don't understand the difference between management and leadership, right? So I think you have a lot of people in positions of management at dealerships that come in and they manage the day, they make it to 5 o'clock, but they don't truly lead their teams, right? It's very easy to manage a day, but to lead, you have to get up, you have to, lead by example, show your team what you want. I think a lot of dealerships and a lot of managers just have people that come in and punch the clock. To be a leader, there is no clock, right? You put in the work until the work is done. You lead your team. So, I mean, we've always tried to really focus on that.
I think that's a great response. I believe that too. I probably say it a lot just because of how close Charity and I are. But there's a difference between management and leadership, and I don't think people really understand that. I have this, or managers light a fire underneath people, and leaders light a fire from inside of people, and find out their why and help them achieve whatever it is they're looking for. Those are the ones that last. Those are the ones that create that they want to show up for you.
I
You
agree with
agree?
that
Okay,
100%.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I've noticed about leaders over the years is that's very, you see a lot of good leaders in automotive in general, but they're spread out across the country, in various places. But as they come and go, it's tough to see good leadership come and go throughout, any one place at one time. You know what I mean? Is it can you learn it, or do you have to be taught, or is it innate? You know what I'm trying to say?
I mean, I
Good.
think some people are natural leaders, but I do think that it can be taught. I think, again, you have to set that expectation of what a leader is to your managers, because a lot of people don't understand that, right? And they come in and, they work 7 to 5 or whatever their shift is, and they manage the day, and they probably do it adequately. But are they truly leading? Are they inspiring? And that's the difference maker. So I do think you can train people to be leaders, but I also do believe that there are natural leaders that just have that charisma that
I I I totally agree. I didn't really know what that was until I met it, at least so far, what I sense about somebody like you. But I don't know, I've 16 years, 15 years in the business and worked my way all the way up. And I thought I was a great manager, but I really didn't understand the distinction between the two until I met a mentor, life coach, whatever it was. And I realized if I wanted to go to the next level, which I was ready at the time, he was willing to work with me. And he looked at me and he said, Russell, are you willing to do the things that other people are not willing to do so you can have and become the things that most people will never have and never become? And that was a pretty open statement, but I didn't realize what was coming next. And my whole world changed. And I really started to understand what leadership was. And it is a lot of different things, but there is most people don't really understand. There's the 95 percenters and the 5 percenters out of there. And it sounds like basically, and it's not only is this first time really interacting with you and we're on a podcast, but I also saw you at ASOTU CON and I watched and listened how you carried yourself and the things you said. And you could tell that you are definitely a leadership. Yeah.
I do think, to your point, I think all leaders do have a mentor somewhere in their career,
I would
right?
agree.
That
Yeah.
did that for them. Because look, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back in any way. I just had really good mentors over the years that taught me the
Yeah.
right
But
way.
you listened to them.
Well, I did.
Yeah.
Begrudgingly at first, right? But you have to check your ego and admit that it's not necessarily that you do things wrong. It's just that there's a better way to do things. And I think when you can acknowledge that and accept it, you can really start to, elevate yourself as a leader. And again, I had really good mentors early in my career that taught me to do things the right way. And to your point, I did listen to them, but without them, I don't know, if I would be the same leader that I am now.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you had them, and I'm certainly glad I had them. And sometimes I kind of look, and I'm not, I work with people in different ways, but if the branches are bare, au contraire, I don't tend to go there because there's nothing there that, I mean, all they want to do is talk about blame and not accept. And that says a lot about the maturity of somebody when they accept responsibility for the choices they made and where they're at in life right now is only one person's fault. And that's the person in the mirror you're looking at, right?
You're 100% correct. And ironically enough, I just had, a meeting with my service manager this morning and told him that, listen, it's easy to make things not work. Right. I want you to come to me with solutions. Right. Anybody can make anything not work. That's the easy part. The hard part is sitting down and figuring out a solution and then putting that plan in place.
Did he understand?
He did. Yeah, he's a great guy, and he's been under me for 7 years, so he understands what I expect. But when we're talking about a problem, I don't want to hear more problems, right? We want to talk about the solution of how to fix it, and it's very easy to make excuses. So
yes, no
Sure
doubt.
is.
Man, we could spend 2 hours just on these type of topics, but we have many others we want to move along with. So,
We
Charity,
do. We do. Well, and I'm going to ask you this one because it's very on the line of what we're talking about with leadership. But have you noticed any habits or disciplines from high performing fixed ops directors that put them in a position where they are top performers?
I
good
really think it
question.
comes down to process, right, and accountability management, and people don't necessarily always understand what accountability management is, but you have to decide what you want to achieve first, and then you have to put processes in place to achieve that. But then you have to sit your people down and you have to confirm their understanding of what you're trying to do. And once you have their understanding and buy-in, then we create, reports to measure the KPIs of whatever we're trying to achieve. And then as long as you inspect those daily without fail, right, you're going to see the success. But you have to do that for every single process of the day. And I think that a lot of times, again, I think people don't necessarily structure all the steps in the day because it takes work to set it all up. But once it's set up, I always tell our employees it's building a machine. Once the machine's built, it runs, right? You may have to maintain it or replace a part once in a while,
Sure,
but that
absolutely.
machine is built. So I think it's taking the time to set your department up for success initially. And I think that's where a lot of people fall short.
And we're going to talk about accountability. But before we go into employee and staff accountability, let's talk a little bit about vendor accountability.
No, hell no. Let's don't talk about that.
Where do you see the biggest financial leaks happening inside the dealership today?
Well, I think, from an upper management level, I don't think enough dealerships do financial statement reviews every month, right? I do think that you should dissect your financial statement every month. You should look at the expenses. The department manager should understand what expenses go into their department. Because, a lot of times that revenue that you're looking to make or increase month over month might be right there in your expenses that you could just save. So I do think that financial statement reviews and analysis is a critical thing to do monthly and to sit with your managers so they truly understand what they're paying for each month.
It tells a story, doesn't it?
It sure does.
And tell us your perspective on vendors in general. I'm sure vendors are part of your life for the good and
All
for the
day,
bad.
every day, text, email, phone calls, cold calls, right?
That's
Yeah.
right.
So
Yeah, listen, I've always been a believer that vendors, I consider them partners, right? Because I don't want to be treated as a customer. I want to be treated as a partner, and I want them to be a part of my success, and I want to be a part of their success. And if I have a vendor that doesn't necessarily get that or treats me as a customer, they're usually not a vendor for long, right? Because again, I want partnerships. I want people that are invested in the success of my store. And if I don't have that, then they're truly not a partner and they're not a vendor that I want to work with.
When you're talking with vendors, because they're out there everywhere. I mean, there's so many of them. It's like you have to pick and choose. And yeah, it's hard not to have contempt prior to investigation, but a lot of it might depend on the approach or the way they carry themselves. And do you know if they are or are not car people? And does that affect you at all?
You can definitely tell when they're not car people. I mean, that's pretty evident, but I don't necessarily hold that against them. Again, if they're invested in the success of whatever, I'm dealing with them on, I'm open to working with them, whether they're car people or not. It's just, you need that partnership and you need people that you can truly reach out to that will help you when you do, right? A lot of places tell you to call them if you have any problems, but then it's impossible to get a hold of anybody.
It is.
So, a true vendor to me, I have their cell phone number. They have my cell phone number. We can interact whenever there's an issue and we can be proactive and stay ahead of anything that might pop up.
Well said.
yeah. How do successful vendors bust down your doors, Nolan?
Well, I think
Damn,
they
Charity,
identify a
bust down.
need.
I mean, come. No.
I think
Kick it
the good
in, yeah.
the good ones come in already knowing what you need, right? And they present their product and show you how they can help you get to where you want to go. I think a lot of people just come in and like cold pitch you on stuff, and it's stuff that doesn't necessarily reflect the needs of our store. And those are typically the vendors that we don't really engage with too much. But the guys that come prepared and understand what the needs of the store are, they're definitely the ones that are getting the FaceTime.
Yeah, no doubt. I think it's important. I do a lot of my homework on LinkedIn with people, but I'm also engaged in all different kinds of rooms, and I look for. Of course, you and I don't really know each other, but you know what? We have a lot of mutual connections. We really do. So I think that's really important when they have to know what it is they're going to talk to you about, and it would be something you'd be interested in instead of just some blanket pitch when you already have that product, for example, or something. It's like, I mean, hello, did you do any research at all? I mean, hello. Anyway.
Well, let's move back to accountability a bit. And so, how do you create accountability without creating a culture where people are afraid to make mistakes?
Good
Well,
question.
that's a good question. But I think accountability works both ways, right? I want employees to hold us accountable as managers, and we want to hold them accountable. So I think when it plays both sides, I think you get more buy-in, right? And, with like technicians, we hold technicians accountable for production, right? Because our inventory and fixed operations is ours. And we're the only department in a dealership whose inventory perishes every night. So it's urgent, right? So we set objectives with technicians for what they're supposed to produce each day. And if they don't hit it, we sit down and hold them accountable to it the next morning. But the reason I don't think we get pushback on things like that is we're doing that for their benefit too, right? We've agreed to make them a certain amount of money per year. And if they're not hitting their objective each day, they're not going to make it. So we're holding them accountable so that we can make our promise good to them, right? And we want them to hold us accountable if there's something we're doing that's causing them time with production. So I just think it has to be good for everybody, right? Accountability can't just benefit management. It has to benefit your employees as well. And when it does, it just makes it easier. I'm not saying that it still doesn't get chippy sometimes because of course it does, right? But I do think when it benefits both sides, everybody understands why we have to have those accountability talks, and they're much more open to being flexible with it.
Nolan, every dealership wants to increase profitability, hands down. What do you think's one opportunity to do that most dealers don't really think about?
Well, I mean, there's so many ways to increase profitability. I mean, you have to look at what your cost of sale is, right? You have to back into, I think first you have to understand, what do you want your profitability to be? What is that measurement, right? And then you have to back into that and figure out, I believe that, whether we're talking service or sales, everything on our lot holds a value, right? Every stall in service has a value. Every
No
cubicle
doubt.
in sales holds a value. So first, you have to understand what break even is, right? What your expenses are, what breaks even. And then you have to back into it and determine what each stall is required to produce, what each cubicle is required to produce. And then you have to set the objectives and hold them accountable, right? You can't just hope that you're going to have that profitability. So, I mean, we always look to have an increase every month, right? A flat month is never okay. So we're constantly trying to build, but we build on it by backing into those numbers and understanding where we need to be. I think, there's so many ways to generate revenue at a store, that a lot of dealerships miss, especially service departments. I'm a big believer in fluid analysis, where we test fluids on every vehicle and then present the sales to customers rather than just going off a menu. I think there's a large opportunity for a lot of dealerships there.
Agreed.
I think everybody just wings it off a menu, and you're missing so many services you're letting walk out your door.
Incredible.
So, I mean, for a service department, I definitely think, fluid services are a huge source of revenue that people miss. I think for parts departments, syndicating your parts inventory on Amazon and eBay and being able to ship parts across the country to anybody is a huge area of revenue that people miss. So, I mean, look, we could talk about it probably for hours, but it's just, you have to sit down with your managers and identify what are their goals? What do they want to do? And then we have to look for those areas of opportunity and execute. But there's so many in a dealership that it's endless. And that's, a pretty cool thing, pretty cool problem to have, is that you can constantly add something new to to your plate.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
So you were obviously, because I saw you in person at ASOTU CON. Were you at the ASOTU CON before? The year
I
before?
was. Yeah, I was there last year. I did the More Than Cars with Errol Boehmer last year when I was there. I think ASOTU Con's it's a super cool event because I love NADA too, but NADA is overwhelming, right? You get clubbed over the head by every vendor out there when you're walking through it. And ASOTU Con is just much more intimate. You have really, really good people and really good topics there. And if you're willing to just sit and listen to people like Steve Greenfield, Ned Roberts, and Brian Benstock, I mean, you take away so much from these guys that it's a pretty incredible event, to be honest.
I was going to mention, that's why I want to know if you were the year before as well, because following what Steve Greenfield, I had a conversation with him before his, his spot that afternoon. And it's real interesting. And what my question to you is it just me because I'm in fixed op stuff all the time, even though I grew up on the variable side, or is something really going on? Because people are talking more about fixed op. I'm talking about OEMs. Everybody's talking more about data, clean data, fixed operations, repeat referral, retention, the areas that need to be focused on, what's going on? Because this is like huge right now. Is that just me, or is that a topic everywhere because that data is going to be really important. And when Steve was talking, he really brought it all together, and the money's going to be in fixed operations. And we have a huge opportunity in front of us now and have for a couple of years, because not me, but NADA says for every franchise dealer, there's 16 independents, that we've created this nightmare ourselves over the last 30, 40 years, etc. Transparency, tricks, snake, whatever it is. Okay. But not really taking care of the customer, just trying to maximize, gross. And he was talking about this perfect opportunity because of EV and because of connected services, that the independents are scrambling to be able to get a piece of that. Or is it just me, or is it really a huge topic out there? You tell me. You tell us.
I think it's huge. I think the back of the house is becoming the front of the house, right? So I think before service was kind of forgotten about, sales is the attractive part of the industry, right? And service is more of the grind. But I think service, again, the back has become the front. Absorption has become a much more focused on thing. And to your point, connected services and some things that are out there from the OEMs right now are giving us a chance to get our customers back from the independents.
Absolutely.
Now, what we do with them when they come back is critical, right? How we treat them, how we take care of them when they're in our stores, I think is what will lead to us retaining them in the future. But I do think that, look, sales is a tough game, especially when you're a new car franchise, because you're on a level playing field with every other new car franchise out there, same pricing. So used cars is the real opportunity and variable. But I think that service and parts, you're going to see that continue to be the front of the house rather than the back moving forward.
Absolutely. It always helps somebody like you to validate that. I say control the controllables, okay? Because you really can't control the front side if you're a new car, if you're a franchise dealer, but you can control used cars and service, can't you?
That's right.
Absolutely. That's where it's at. And Ford is making some great strides. Another topic altogether, but they are really pushing heavily on customer pay and keeping customers. And because it's so much less costly to keep them than it is to try to go back after them again, take them back from the independents.
100% customer acquisition.
There you go. That's the word.
It's so expensive to acquire, a defective customer that, if you just took care of them from the start, you wouldn't have to do that.
I mean, my God, you got them captive for 3 years. I mean, hello, right? It's like, I don't get it. But, it's really interesting that I know there's many defection points. A lot of it's just how they're being treated. But the two biggest defection points, and yes, there are many, are tires and oil changes, right? Because that's the single largest purchase they're going to make during their warranty period. And yet I find that unless my numbers are wrong, and I try to pride myself because I'm involved in a lot of data, 33% of the population doesn't even know you sell tires.
The
It's
crazy thing
ludicrous, Nolan.
about that too is if you mystery shop, dealers are cheaper than the independents.
Say that
Right?
again.
We're dealers are cheaper than independents, right? If you mystery shop an oil change or a tire replacement at an independent versus a dealership, it is cheaper to come to a dealership. It's just that's not the perception, and we don't necessarily market or advertise it and let customers know that we are the place to come.
Yeah,
We
so
constantly do mystery shops here, and we're shocked at what some of these independents, the Jiffy Lubes and places like that are charging. It's pretty crazy.
It is crazy. So my business partner, his wife, they don't drive that much. And they got a Toyota, and she was going to the dealership to get an oil, rotate, and balance. Okay. But she didn't. She went to Valvoline and didn't get the rotate and balance, but just got the oil change. Well, she thought she was real happy. It was $89.95. Well, it was $69.95 with a rotate and balance at the Toyota store. Hello? I mean,
Yeah.
but
right.
They think that, don't they? We have done that to ourselves. Yeah. It's remarkable.
Totally
And
agree.
talk about upselling. They love to upsell you on and nickel and dime you at those independents till it's no longer $89.95. It's $169.95. They're very
Right.
good at that. Well, tell us, Nolan, how do you balance taking care of today's customers while still making time to improve the business for tomorrow?
Well, I think that goes hand in hand, right? I think if you're taking care of your customers adequately and you're providing them with a guest experience, that you are preparing yourself for the future, because that really is the way the industry is going. Is we have to change our mindset. We have to stop treating people as customers. We have to treat them as guests, and we have to stop forcing customers to do business on our terms. We have to be flexible. We have to do it on their terms. That's the future of this industry. Everything in the world now is convenient, right? So I think that dealerships have to be convenient. You have to be able to take care of your customers. You have to have options for them that make sense, that fit their lives. And again, if you're doing all those things for your guests, you are prepared for the future.
And we will bounce into mobile service now. But before we go there, what are other areas of convenience that you've found customers want and you've implemented?
Sure. Pickup and delivery, right, goes along with mobile service. It's just a remote experience. What we found over the years is our in-house brick and mortar repair orders, customer pay, and our pickup and delivery repair orders, there's a $300 gap. So there's a $300 uplift every time we do a pickup and delivery, because when you think about it, look, I love dealerships because this is my life, but customers don't want to sit in the waiting area. So if they're in for an oil change and rotation and we go out and we present them with, exceptions that the technician found, then it's going to take another 3 hours to do them. They don't want to be here, right? So they typically tell you, well, let's just wrap up for today and we'll come back another time. But when they're at home and we call them and we let them know, hey, this is what we found. It's going to take an additional 3 hours and we'll bring your vehicle back to you. People are very open to doing the work, right? Because they're in the comfort of their own home. They're not inconvenienced. And I think that follows the mobile service template as well, but it's just providing convenient options. And again, we force customers to sit in the waiting area, and sit there for hours while their vehicle's waiting. So you have to offer pickup and delivery. You have to offer mobile service. You have to have a loaner fleet available to take care of people, and you have to make the experience convenient. Otherwise, they'll find somewhere else.
Yeah, look at what Brian Benstock has done. I mean, oh my God. I know he's a unicorn as well, but the man is just like he's relentless. And then of course Ed and you now with all the mobile service vehicles you have, that's a so. And I'm sitting here thinking because I have a Genesis, okay, and I can't. I used to be able. It's my second one. I used to be able to go to a local Hyundai store, and I can't. I have to go to a Genesis approved franchise. Okay. And it is 40 miles from me. Okay. And I recently have a little problem with my cooling seats. Okay. And it's a nightmare. The drive is a nightmare. They're not going to have a vehicle for me and I'm going to have to leave it and I'm going to have to find a rental car. And it's like, man, I'm not looking forward to that at all. If someone they don't even do pick up and drop off. If they did that, that would be great. But I'm 40 miles out of the way. So they don't go that far. They only go 20 miles out. So that is you're right. It's not like you may have wonderful amenities while they're waiting, which is great. But yeah, people aren't clamoring, looking forward to going to the dealership to sit in the waiting area. You're
Yeah.
on to something really huge on pickup, drop off, delivery, and the mobile service, which I think now, Charity, we're probably going to get into. Is that correct?
Yeah, we are. So, Nolan, tell us about your mobile service. Tell us what
There you
you
go.
do and how it's made an impact.
Yeah. So I think, mobile service has so many benefits that dealers don't always look at. The most obvious on the customer side is CSI and retention. And I think, talking with Mark Mickens, I think the number is 92% of customers that have one mobile service experience continue to use mobile service. Well, tell me where in our industry 92% retention is anywhere, right? I mean, it's a crazy number. So I think that, having that mobile service should be an offering for everybody. And retail, obviously, for CSI and retention is wonderful. But the real opportunity and the huge financial opportunity is with commercial and fleet. And when you can break into the commercial and fleet space, the opportunity is, and I mean it, it is endless. I mean, fleets crave this. You're eliminating downtime. You're filling a solution for them. And that's really where we made our mark. It takes time. You have to have somebody on the road. You have to have somebody that's going out and talking to these fleets and speaking the benefits to it. But mobile service, when you think about a brick and mortar dealership, how much money does it cost to add 10 service bays to
Oh
your
my gosh.
shop, right? You can just go buy 10 vans and every van is a bay. So you're adding capacity to your department without necessarily building any brick and mortar. And you're taking care of customers that a lot of times you wouldn't be taking care of. A lot of times at dealerships, we sell vehicles outside of our PMA, especially dealing with commercial and fleet. You're selling people that aren't necessarily local, but you can still capture that business and retain it by offering mobile service to them. So again, it's that convenience. It's offering a remote solution to customers so that they're not inconvenienced in coming into the store. And there's just so many benefits, beyond CSI and retention and commercial and fleet. When you break it down and think about it, when you're doing retail, your guys are going to a customer's house. They're creating a relationship with the customer, but they're also getting to see what's in the driveway, right? Because there's always an extra vehicle. So you're getting to see what they drive. You're getting a chance to offer an appraisal for their vehicles. You're getting a chance to have business on the variable side as well. So I just think mobile service, I truly believe, and I've said this 100 times, but I think the opportunity for dealerships in the future are outside of our walls. I don't think they're inside. I think we have to go out and get it because I think there's a lot of independents that are getting into mobile service right now. And if we're not careful, they're going to eat our lunch there. So
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
to be proactive. We have to be out there. But what an opportunity mobile service is.
Oh my
And
gosh.
we were
It's
fortunate that we were an early player, but the dealerships, I talk to people all the time and everybody wants to just say it doesn't pencil, but it does, right? It's, again, you have to put the
Yeah.
time
Well, you
behind
know
it.
what? That's why you're a 5%er, and the 95% are saying it doesn't pencil. They're not seeing the down the road. If I had a mobile and I was in a residential area and somebody was servicing my Ford, and you have all these neighbors driving by and talking and say, well, what's wrong? What's wrong with your vehicle? Nothing. Just having a routine oil and filter change and checking out a couple things on a recall. What do you mean? Well, yeah, they just came to my house and do it, so I don't have to go. What, are you kidding me? I mean, just think about how that spreads. I mean, it's like, yeah,
And to your
you're
point, kudos to Ford, right? Because Ford they've created luxury offerings for a domestic product, right? I mean, you look at, now Mercedes has done it for years, but you look at some of these other luxury brands, they don't even offer these services to their customers.
no,
Ford really was a pioneer with offering luxury services to domestic customers and kind of changing the game in that respect.
it's incredible. And there's
It is.
this is going to pay dividends. It already is, obviously. I don't understand the not penciling thing. Well, customers don't really want to, it costs more, so the Amazon shopper, and let me tell you, I get them every day outside of my door. I get UPS and FedEx every day to my door. And it's like, okay, is it really cheaper? No, not necessarily. Sometimes you're paying more, but it's the convenience. Okay. You know what's going to happen. You know how it's going to work. And I'm telling you what, if a Genesis would come out and do that to my car, and I would pay for it. I really would.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
I
in the
agree.
same boat with an Audi, and
Yeah,
I'm in the same boat, Russell. I have to drive 40 miles to Audi, and Audi's great, but I don't care for coffee and donuts. Like that's about the biggest selling point while you're
Yeah.
waiting in there.
No, no. And my son chastises me all the time because he followed in my footsteps, and he's his 11th year at a local Ford store. And yet, now we have two Fords, but yeah, he wants me to trade in my Genesis and get a Ford, and I'm just not ready to do it. But they got some great products, and you know what? I mean, for a salesperson to be at one place for 11 years, do you know how unique that is? It just doesn't
yeah,
happen, Nolan. But you know
yeah,
why? I'm going to tell you why. Because of the leadership of somebody like you. That's why.
yeah. Yeah, look, I think with mobile too, people try to lump it into their service department, right? And I don't think you can do that. It has to be separated. It should be separated on the financial statement. It should be its own department with its own managers, coordinators. When you do that, it puts more focus on it. Because if you just lump it into service, then it's just another part of service, right? So
So
you have to
elaborate a
create
little
your own
bit on
department.
that, because I don't think most people really think that. They may be thinking what you just said. Why did you have that distinction there?
I think you have to, because in order to measure success, I have to be able to measure something, right? And if it's just lumped in on the financial statement with service, then you almost have to dissect that page of the statement and pull mobile out and, decipher gross and net and expenses. But if you have it on a separate page of the financial statement and it's treated as its own department, you can truly measure its success on a monthly basis.
Well said.
Yeah, so tell us about what you're doing. How many vehicles do you have? Do you now I don't I'm in Oregon. So we don't
Yeah.
have I'm not in Texas. I'm very unfamiliar with how big the fleets are. Are they kind of stuck in a sort of a geographical area, or do they venture further? Is it more expensive to the customer or is it not? Tell us a little bit about how it works.
Sure. So we're currently running 18 units right now. My previous role, we ran 33 units across 3 shifts. We do typically charge a little bit more to commercial customers and fleets for the service, and they're not. Nobody questions it, right? And that's the great thing about commercial and fleet is nobody cares about price. They just want to know when the vehicle is going to be done. But you should be able to charge something. Our teams work in multiple states, right? So we do have teams that work in New York City, New Jersey, Maryland, Delaware. Because if the billable hours are there, then it makes sense, right? But you just have to make sure that you're backing into it. But that's commercial and fleet. You can truly just expand as far as you want to go. Again, the opportunity, it never ends.
Well, you've said that dealers are often afraid to get into mobile because of the cost. Um, why do you think so many people see it as a bigger investment than it really is?
I think it's just a misconception. I think people just think, well, it's $150,000 for a van and all the tools. But again, do a cost comparison against adding a bay to your brick and mortar. It's not expensive. I think a lot of times, look, service managers have a tough job and a lot of them are overworked. And I think a lot of times service managers just don't want to take on this additional thing for their department. And that's unfortunate because, if they can just see the forest through the trees, they're going to know that it does make sense to do it, but they need support too. Right. And I think one thing that lacks a lot of times is ownership buy-in because your owners have to support your vision. And if they
Absolutely.
don't, they're going to cut you down and eventually you're just going to do away with it. And, I can't tell you over the years how many vehicles I bought from other dealerships, from other Ford stores that just said, well, this isn't working. And we would buy the vehicles from them. But the
Good
fact
for
is
you.
they just didn't put the effort into it. And maybe it's a case of the service manager didn't have enough support. The owner didn't have, the buy-in with it, but everybody has to be on board. It has to be a focus because it's not easy. I mean, it's not to get off the ground. Everybody starts with one vehicle. So, I mean, you have to get the first one to start, but you do have to put time into it. You do have to write processes and structure the department. And then you have to hold the team accountable to what's expected each day.
Yeah, you do. I remember many times in the middle of COVID, et cetera, and towards the end there, when Ed was just he was still the fixed ops director at Bozard, and just watching that evolve and the struggles at the very beginning. It's just you just don't know what you don't know until you walk through it. Yeah, there's going to be challenges and things, and if I remember correctly, they weren't really making money, but but they figured it out.
Yeah. To your point, when you start, there's probably more bad days than there are good days, right?
Sure.
But you work through that, and that eventually that flips, and you have more good days than you have bad days. And when you have bad days, you should sit down, talk about what went wrong, and again, you try to write a process to eliminate that friction and move forward.
Yeah, the other day I was talking to somebody, this old thing popped up in my head, and when people focus on the prize, they're almost always willing to pay the price, but when they focus on the price, they almost never get the prize, and that's so true. This is, perfect for that kind of scenarios because they're looking at the cost and what they have to do, and they can't see what's at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, and like I said earlier, it's so easy to make something not work. So if you truly don't want it to work, it's not going to work, right? So you do have to put the
So,
effort
I mean,
into it,
right? Yeah, it's true.
and
Yeah.
it's a
So
truth.
if a dealer came to you today, Nolan, and said, "Hey, we're thinking about mobile service. Where do we start?" What would your advice be?
My advice would be to start small, right? Get one van, right? Put an objective in place that makes sense for you. And typically every dealer is going to be different, but you have to decide what you need to make back on that, what the van's costing you, what your techs are costing you, and then start small. Go to local used car dealers and other dealers and do the recalls that are on the lot, right? It's such an easy way to enter because it's no charge, right? And we're
Yeah.
doing a service for those dealerships. So I think that's the easiest way to get into it is completing recalls for used car lots and other franchises. And then once you do that, you want to, I think a lot of times nobody in sales supports the mobile initiative, right? So I believe in having, prepaid mobile subscriptions that are offered to customers,
I love
when
it.
they're buying a car. And then we educate the customer on what mobile service is and how we can help them. I think that's a huge thing as well. Just making people aware of what it is and letting them know they don't have to come here for their first oil change. We'll come to you. And, those are the best ways to get started. And then when you're ready to start scaling, you go after the bigger accounts, the commercial fleet accounts that have 2, 3, 400 VIN numbers under one roof. And then you just
I
go
mean,
after.
setting that very first one, how easy is it, to start them off that way? Because they're going to be coming to you for oil changes anyway. At least
Yeah.
they have an option. I mean, why? I mean, let them know about it right up front. Yeah.
Right. And the other huge opportunity that I think gets often overlooked is special order parts, right? Because how many special order parts are on dealers' shelves that we're waiting for customers to come back in and have installed? Well, just go to them, right? Fill one of your mobile vans with special order parts, go hit
What
the road,
a
take care of every
novel
customer you have.
idea. Because they are, right? Just go to the customer.
It's the low hanging fruit, right? It's
Yeah.
already at your store. The customer is expecting to get it done. So I think those are the easiest ways to jump into it.
Yeah. Well, I believe certainly that it is a competitive advantage. And do you think it's something that more and more customers will come to expect is just part of the way they're going to do business? I think I already see it happening, but I want to know, do you? Because you're in the trenches, you're there, you're doing it.
I think so. I think COVID fundamentally changed the way people live their lives, right? And I think people crave that convenience. And I also think that, whether we want to admit it or not, our customer demographic is getting younger and younger. And in 10 years from now, you're not going to see people that want to come to a store for an oil change or for maintenance. They're going to want people to come to their house and take care of it. So I just think that you have to get on board now because I don't think this is a trend in any way. I think it's the future of our industry. So it's just critical that we recognize that and then, we pivot and make it a part of our business.
I see it. I do too. 10 years from now, it's like people will be going, go to the dealership for an oil change? Why would you do that? It's cheaper
Right.
to have them come to your house.
100%.
I mean, I'm
believe
telling you,
that.
it's coming. It is coming. Yeah. Right.
It is.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just having a little fun. Charity.
Yeah, it sounds like really everyone should be doing it. Before we move on to another topic, do you have any other thoughts about mobile service that you'd like to mention here today, Nolan?
Just that I really do think that everybody should take a deeper look at it, right? Rather than just dismissing it. Because again, there are so many independents and other people getting into it right now that the dealerships that aren't, at some point, it's going to be too late, right? They're going to be able to offer it, but they're going to have a very small following. So just take a deeper look. If you really are interested in doing it, reach out to somebody like myself or Ed or, we're all willing to help people, right? It's not,
No
this
doubt.
isn't industry secrets, right? We're all here to help each other get better. So, reach out to somebody that has experience in it, pick their brain, and then, execute, and you'll
Yeah.
have success.
Well done. I want to say this to back it up. An opportunity is not an opportunity when everybody thinks it is. They've already missed the opportunity. The opportunity is now, not 5 years from now.
That's a very good statement. Yeah.
Yeah. We just had ASOTU CON. It just passed. I just want to ask you a few questions about it. Is there one conversation or idea that kind of stuck with you from the show?
I mean, I take away so much from those
I
type of
know it's hard
events,
not
but
to, right?
I mean, I enjoyed the AI summit this year. I thought the AI summit was pretty powerful, but I really enjoyed Steve Greenfield and Brian Benstock's speeches. I think they just hit on so many powerful and important things in our industry. I always love hearing Ed Roberts talk, and it's just, there's so many good points. It's hard to pick out one, but I thought the cool thing was, the theme was the year of the human, right? And it was about investing in your people and taking care of your people and creating culture. And again, that I think that's so understated in our industry, the
Agreed.
importance of culture and taking care of our people, that I just thought, the ASOTU CON guys are just such great guys. They're visionaries. They're looking ahead. They're not looking at the present. They're looking at the future. And it's just a pleasure to go to that event.
It is. I've been like you. I've been to so many. I mean, NADA is just overwhelming, but even a lot more fixed op stuff is there. And AI and all. But yeah, I've told Cherry this is my third one, the ASOTU CON, and for the type of venue, it's small. It's just like it's one of the, if not the best experience I've ever had at a repeating type of conference that I go to. NADA is such a big, overwhelming deal. I never make it anywhere on time. I mean, you can't. You think you got enough time to get here, and then 15 people when you've been in the business 40 years, etc. It's like everybody wants to talk to you, and you always end up being late. This is not that, man. I mean, it is meat and potatoes stuff. It's about the human, and it's about people, investing in your people, and it's about the future. And when you have a Steve and Brian and people like you up on stage, with stuff, it was awesome watching you up there, Nolan.
Yeah, it's a powerful event.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's definitely not about finding your favorite AI chatbot and implementing your best AI tools. It's about humans and relationships. And we're running out of time. So let me be picky with the last couple questions. If you were in a room full of fixed ops directors, what would be one thing you would challenge them to do first thing on Monday?
Wow. Good question.
I would challenge them to lead by example to start, right? I would challenge them to set the expectations with their team of what they expect to be done, and then show them, right? Because I always tell this to my managers, is it's so easy to sit behind a desk and say, do this, do that. Get out of your desk, get out of your office, and go show your people what you expect. Explain why it's important to them, why it's important to the customer. I think that, we have to separate ourselves, right? And even as dealers, if you want to be a top performing dealer, what are you going to do better than the guy down the street? And I think a lot of that has to come from leadership. So if I was in a room of fixed ops directors, I would challenge them to work closely with their people, make sure they understand what the goal is, and not just show up to work to sell hours, because that's not our goal. Our goal is to create and maintain relationships. Everything else comes with that. But if we're just showing up to work, focused on production or something else, you're going to lose that human touch, and you're not going to have the relationship.
And let me tell you what, I hear that a lot. It's about the money. It's about the hours. It's about, but no, it's really, yes, that is the end result. And it would be better if you let people know that they count, they matter, they make a difference. I think, yeah, because all it's just going to be 60% turnover in the front end sales year. It's why? Leadership, yeah, it's, yeah. Anyway, Charity, great response. Thank you.
Yeah. So are there any questions that we didn't ask you today, Nolan, that you wish we had?
To be honest, no, this was great. It's very fun for me. I love talking fixed ops. I love talking about the automotive industry. So this has been a pleasure on my end.
Well, listen, it has on ours
Thank
too. Yeah. We're so humbled, honored, and grateful that you came on. General Manager, Twin Pines Ford of Hamburg. And that's not Germany, is it? That's
That
PA.
is not. It's
All right.
Pennsylvania.
I just want to get that straight. And we're looking forward to releasing this and all the shorts that are going to come from it. And I'm asking all of you out there, a lot of great stuff here. We encourage you to listen to the whole thing, but we also encourage you to watch the shorts, engage, check in with them, like him, love him, make comments, reach out to him. If you, I'm sure you'd be more than willing. Just from this episode, you can see he's willing to share, as long as you're not willing to take. So thank you once again, Nolan. It's have a great, have a strong close, and have a great holiday. Right, 250, baby. Come on.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so
Nolan.
much. And again,
Yeah.
a pleasure to be on, and very grateful for you having me.